Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Hello, Brad Shoemaker.
Hello, hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hello, Alex Navarro.
And a hello to you, Vinny, and a good Guitar Hero to you, Brad.
Oh?
Because you're wearing that hat.
You're not supposed to talk about things like that, man. It's supposed to be between us.
You're wearing the Guitar Hero hat. I'm doxing you right now.
It's just, look, I needed some more hats. Last time I was home, there is a copious supply of hats there.
How many hats does a person need?
To rotate.
Yeah,
I think it's a good hat, personally.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a nicely embroidered stock Guitar Hero logo on the back hat. It's pretty standard, but it's nicely made, and also, who goes around wearing a Guitar Hero hat these days?
That's right.
Exactly.
The coolest of people. I was trying to think as we were getting started for this show, traditionally, and I know the dates have moved around, would we be in LA setting up something or doing something around now, or is it a little bit closer to the middle of the month for E3 stuff?
In the Giant Bomb era, definitely.
Because it used to be in May, right?
Yeah. In the GameSpot era, it was, well, actually, I think it even moved into June by the time we were kind of closing out at GameSpot.
I feel like it was around my birthday once or twice.
Yeah, it used to be in May, early May.
Okay.
Early to mid-May, I think.
Mm-hmm. Because we're in the season.
Yeah. Yes, we definitely are.
The body remembers.
Yes, quite a few of the last years. It was second week of June.
I feel like if we weren't there by now, we were at least getting ready to get on planes like Wednesday or Thursday to head down there and start setting up for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday preamble,
You were always part of the advanced team, right?
the go scout the location and be like, there's no internet here.
Yeah.
And then have that discussion again with being like, oh, how much does the internet cost? Oh my God.
I guess that got a little better after we standardized at the standard.
Mm-hmm. The standard also had a weird uncorking fee, which was like, oh, the internet's not much, but to get internet in here.
Yeah. I mean, standard was not always perfect, but at least it was a known quantity.
Yeah.
Nothing like the previous years of venue change every year.
I was just talking to my wife about that, about how, there's just something nice about knowing your problems before you get into a venue. Like, we've solved these problems in this space. And then it's not great, but they're known issues and we know to address them early enough.
Yeah, that year we were in that retail storefront. Remember that? I remember some extremely panicked messages coming back.
The art space, remember the one that was in downtown LA?
Wait, which one?
The one that was literally on one of the main commercial streets in LA. We only went there once. It had the weird bunk thing in the back and what looked like a skate ramp maybe.
Yes, there was a skate ramp. There was some kind of loft in the back. It also seemed like it was mid-renovation, as if there was just asbestos dust everywhere.
Yeah.
Wait, that wasn't the one where the guy was sleeping in the back with the skateboard ladder, right?
That was exactly the one.
Okay.
I believe that was the case.
That was 100%. And he was like, oh, I was told I could just, I was going to be cool here.
Yeah. When you said commercial space, that to me is always, no, that was a guy's house we were in. I know it did have a front.
It was a retail location though.
At one time, it was a functional retail storefront, but definitely not at that point.
We had a couple of spaces where there were apparently some misunderstandings of no, we pretty much said we would have private use of this. And we're like, oh, I was just going to live here, or this is my house, or I need to be in this other room.
What do you mean we need someone to watch your equipment?
Yeah, right. What do you mean there are no locks on these doors? Boy.
It's funny. I was talking to my therapist last week about E3 and sort of the routine that we have always... As one does. But I was trying to explain to her why the last few years have felt like there is a giant gap in my usual schedule, which is to say that every year, we would go to E3, whether I road trip down or I flew out or whatever. There was always this week-long thing that was just planted in the middle of my year that a bunch of my, months previous to that would kind of orbit around until we did it. And then as soon as, E3 kind of stopped being an in-person thing and then E3 stopped being a thing, it felt like there was this giant void inside of my yearly schedule, and there was just this thing that I normally, even if I was stressed out about it, I looked forward to it because I knew it was coming. It was an old reliable. And just something about having that void, having that complete absence of that, has still been a thing I have never fully adjusted to. Like, it's not like I did it my entire life, but I did it for so long that it became this thing that I just expected. And Brad, it's not that I'm necessarily jealous of like you going to Summer Games Fest, but I am a little bit jealous about you having a thing that you can go to that you've been planning for.
That's kind of how I'm feeling. Like, I mean, booking a schedule is always kind of an arduous process, but I'm just about done with it. And it's nice to just have a bunch of stuff lined up. Like, I'm going to go see and play a bunch of games you've heard of, which is exciting. And also, like, see people.
Right. Socialize.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I have hit a wall in the last, like, month or two. Where I fucking need to get out of here.
Yeah.
I need to like speak to some human beings in person about shared work experiences.
We all have our breaking point.
Your body's aching for germs.
That is.
Germ me up.
I'm trying to just not think about that aspect of it. But yeah, I'm starting to miss having things to go to.
Humans are mostly social. As antisocial as I am, I do believe that humans do need other contact once in a while to kind of, and look, I am definitely a person who's like, I would like to live in the woods and never see anybody ever again. But I also recognize the benefit of social encounters. And,
I am on the border, constantly straddling the border of a guy who doesn't go out very often and shut in. And even I am like, every once in a while, I'm like, I gotta go see some people. I gotta go hang out because I've been doing this for too long.
I find for me personally, I find every social encounter easier in person than over like virtual.
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely.
Like, it's just, and like you guys know me, I don't even like texting. Like I can't communicate efficiently without body language, visual eye contact, and like somebody there. I just feel like it takes a quarter of the time to get through an idea if I'm just in front of somebody. And you can get through all the misunderstandings in a fraction of the time by reading body language, seeing how somebody's reacting to somebody, not stressing out if I send a text, which emoji or smiley face do I have to put on the end.
Is this going to be taken sarcastically or as genuine? Like, what are we doing here?
Is this ellipses going to be interpreted as passive aggressive or not?
Yeah. Does this read? You can see when you're in person, when you're saying something, if somebody's like, this person is not into what I am saying right now.
This person is clearly faking their way through this interaction just as I am. Fantastic.
But yeah, I like being at PAX. I as much as the later E3s I enjoyed much more because we kind of had a system down than the kind of factory E3s we had over at GameSpot. We've talked about this a bunch. I genuinely dreaded Game of the Year. That I really disliked. Like I did not look forward to that whole process.
I mean, 2 weeks in a hotel room so you can argue is not necessarily a thing to look forward to every single year.
Well, and I've thought about why, but E3 I did not dread that same way. It's just that it was just a lot of preparation. But E3 was a coverage event, and Game of the Year is a content event where you have to, even once you've started and you've figured everything out, you then have to be there and talk about these things and do all this stuff. Where at E3, I feel like you were there to talk to other people to kind of cover what they're doing and kind of have conversations.
Yeah. Also, E3 was just like over when it was over. You know,
it was over when it was over.
Game of the I mean,
we used to come home with more stuff, but we figured out a way to kind of do more of the live shows and fewer of the interviews and take them all home. But yes, there was definitely an expiration date on that stuff.
Yeah, like Game of the Year, there was a tremendous amount of post production content work. Like you guys killed yourselves doing those videos. I had like 20 hours of podcasts to deal with. You know, like there was so much work after the sitting down and doing the content with Game of the Year, whereas E3, like it was by and large, especially like at GameSpot, where we were under the gun to post everything at the show.
Yeah,
as much
you
as
had
possible.
to do your write-ups.
Right. Like then you could kind of like come home and flop for an afternoon.
And I think the other nice thing about Game of the Year, just in terms of the way it was situated, and for my personal hangups on Game of the Year versus E3 is E3 happened and everything stopped so you could do E3. Game of the Year happened and it had to happen adjacent to everything else going on. The regular podcast would still happen. You know, we'd still try and get UPF. We'd still try and do a lot of the regular stuff. That didn't have to happen at E3. Like it usually, the only thing we tried to do, I think, Alex, right? We tried to do a Beast cast from E3 as well, most times. But like generally, it was like, look, we're at E3. We're doing E3 stuff.
That's what we're here to do, damn it.
That's what we're here to do. We could focus on that. So anyway, it was not as much work in the back half. Don't get me wrong. I will recognize when there was a ton of drop dead work and less of it. And it was definitely less of it in the back half when we were doing the live shows and way fewer recording interviews at appointments. You know, we just kind of, that industry kind of changed. We're just like, we don't need an interview with every single game on the floor.
I mean, E3 changed. We've talked about this many times over. E3 became a very different animal by the time, you know, kind of, I feel like we had kind of hit our stride as far as E3 stuff went at Giant Bomb, but you know, the kind of show we covered, which was the old E3, the one where every developer is there, you're doing interviews with everyone, there are a bunch of B celebrities there, Tony Hawk's on a skate ramp, WCW is doing matches, like that kind of shit.
The video game Carnival.
That ended a long time even before, like, we really kind of hit that stride, and E3 kind of, you know, it really sort of morphed into the thing that it became at the end, but I don't know, even that version of it, even the very compromised, less exciting, more industry trade show, less spectacle version of it, still had a pull to me. There was still something there, even as it got sadder with each progressive year and they tried to like jam it with more random people coming in and then they just stopped buying tickets. Like there was still something there. It obviously wasn't going to be tenable long term, but I still kind of lament the fact that we just don't have it anymore.
Yeah. I always liked PAX as well, and it was good to go to the PAX this year.
They still have those.
And it's fun to see people there as well. I think I'll end my thought on E3 before we get into our next section here of, I think, really the gravitational pull of you kind of don't ignore E3 as a singular thing, this one thing in the games industry where you could see your friends and industry people, and they were kind of all at this one thing, whether they wanted to be there or not. I kind of miss that. There's really no big singular thing like that, where it's just like, hey, look, there's Phil, and there's I never remember his name, but he's the head of this other studio, right? And like they're all there's this guy and this guy, and I think that had a lot of appeal.
Here's David Cage wandering around confused the halls. Clearly doesn't seem to have anything to do here, but he seems to be looking at everything.
Dude, I saw drunk Kojima at a Sony party.
You and I both saw drunk Kojima at that same Sony party, I think.
He was lit, man.
Was that the one where he was arguing with his translator?
I think possibly.
Yeah.
Look, we've shared a lot of E3 stories. The reason we bring some of this up is we've got Summer Game Fest coming up, and I think this is the year that I start saying Summer Game Fest instead of Summer Games Fest.
Yeah.
I think officially I've been doing pretty well so far. It's only taken me about 4 years.
Are we at SGF point yet? I mean, it doesn't feel institutionalized in the way that E3 did.
Yeah,
to the extent that we can just acronym it.
No, right now it still feels like the budding flower growing out of E3's grave. It does not actually feel like its own thing yet. I've
been staring at a map of where SGF is. I just did it. I just said SGF.
Nice. Okay.
There you go.
I've been staring at a map as I've been booking appointments. It just hit me this morning that it's like a stone's throw from the LACC. Like I might just walk over there. Over there and look at the convention center.
Well, so you are going to be going out there, Brad. You are going to be in person for some of it. Alex and I will be holding it down here, doing the virtual holding it down. That's our technical term. Trademark.
Holding? This motherfucker said holding
it down here. We're going to be, Alex and I will be talking over the Summer Game Fest, whatever you want to call it.
No, that's what it's called.
Summer Game Opening Night is that what they call it?
Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, but what's their stream called? Isn't it Opening Night or
Opening Night Live or something like that? They also do that for Gamescom, don't they? Yeah. Isn't that the Opening Night Live thing?
Yeah. Gamescom is the Opening Night Live. I don't know if this stream has a name.
Keely's really muddying the waters for his branding here by doing two different Summer Games presentations.
It gets a little confusing. Let's just call it Summer Game Fest. So that will be 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And then Alex and I will be talking over the Xbox Games Showcase, waving hi, hopefully to Brad, as we see maybe a Guitar Hero hat in the audience. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Just tell us what we can use to spot you.
Yeah.
What hat can I wear to this thing? I don't know.
I don't know. Something bright and orange, maybe.
I'm looking at the wall here. You know what? I should have. I found a PlayStation E3 98 hat last time I was.
I don't know if you wear that one to the Xbox Game Showcase, but it's pretty funny.
You know, wearing the Guitar Hero hat to the Microsoft presentation could send a very powerful message to Phil Spencer.
Yeah, you know,
they own that now.
I have 2 different forms of hair product now. I think I'll just go hatless on this one.
Do you still have that Xbox bracelet that lights up when they?
Oh God, I'm sure I do in a box somewhere.
Yeah, bring that. Did they have shirts as well, or jerseys, or pennies, or something?
Wasn't it some kind of like gowns?
Gown,
it was like cultish looking space gowns.
Video games are fucking weird,
man.
If anybody doesn't remember, there was that near the Xbox One launch?
That
sounds vaguely familiar.
They gave light up bracelets and maybe gowns to people that, and you sat in the audience, and then they did this like synchronized light show at everybody's thing. Maybe we're in a better place. I don't know. Anyway, the Xbox Games Showcase, that is at, I believe that's noon on Eastern on Sunday, June 9th. And then on Monday, when Brad is flying back, Alex and I will be doing the Ubisoft Forward talkover, and that'll be 3 p.m. Eastern on Monday, June 10th. So those are the 3 we have planned to do right now.
There is a Nintendo thing that is currently unscheduled. We don't know when that's happening. It could be the end of the month for all we know, but we'll probably do something around that as well, I think.
Yeah, that's probably worth checking out. I mean, they did obviously say like, hey, there will not be a Switch successor at this thing, but they surely have got games to announce because there's nothing coming out this year.
So Alex and I will not be talking over things like Day of the Devs, but Brad, you're going to be kind of circulating around, checking some of those things out.
I will be seeing a bunch of games while I'm down there.
So that's going to be our coverage. So for this week, and we'll figure it out going forward. There aren't too many new games out there. Figured we'd start off with some of the news stuff here, and kind of on the back of our Summer Game Fest coverage, talk about, I don't know, what we expect, want to see from Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, especially in light of comments made by some of the people organizing it.
Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, you want to read off what Jeff Keighley, well, maybe the short version of what Jeff Keighley said, because to be fair, the thing that you sent around, which is the biggest thing he said so far, was a live stream, right? And it's a little meandering to...
Yeah, I've got this Video Games Chronicle write-up of the Twitch stream Q&A he did, so there's a lot here, but... one of the things you'll see with the show is we really tried to program some unexpected things from smaller teams and independent studios into the show as well, alongside some big blockbuster games and franchises. I think it's going to be generally a little bit quieter this summer in terms of crazy new announcements and shocking surprises and things like that.
Can I ask a question? Because I legitimately do not remember. Did he not say pretty much this exact thing last year?
Yes, I think this is a stronger statement, though. There will definitely be new announcements, but the show is largely focused on existing games that have new updates for fans.
Okay.
Is what he says here.
But then read the beginning of the next paragraph again.
About the Game Awards?
Yeah.
The Game Awards has a lot of usually big surprises and big new reveals. This show is very much largely focused on announced stuff.
So, I mean, that's a pretty interesting, weird thing, I thought, just to read, of like, oh, the Game Awards gets the big announcements, the E3-ish thing kind of gets the revealed stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of where we are.
Yeah, he does say there are absolutely new game announcements throughout the show, but just to level set. It's not all brand new stuff. It tends to be things that are coming out later this year. That's at least twice he uses the phrase level setting in here. That's some new like corporate jargon.
Yeah, I don't like that. But I here's the thing. This is maybe the one year where I'm willing to super give him a pass on that, because we don't even know what's coming out at the end of this year at this point. So actually getting some of those dates is kind of novel and, like, if not exciting, then at least welcome.
Yeah, and like, look, I enjoy a cool announcement and a surprise thing as much as everybody, but 2008 dates don't really excite me, or like, dates that are like this, don't expect this for like 2 years is a long cycle to be on. I'd much rather hear like, because we have looked at, if you can go check out our Planorama over on patreon.com, we have looked into the future, and there's just not a lot even scheduled for this year yet.
Yeah, I mean, some more stuff will slot in, but it seems inevitably it's going to be a lighter year. He did talk about some stuff that will and will not be there. Capcom is showing Monster Hunter Wilds, which is cool. Atlas is going to have Metaphor Ray Fantazio,
I think.
There will be some new stuff for Pal World. He said, don't expect GTA 6 in any form. Don't expect Kingdom Hearts 4. No plans for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater or The Wolf Among Us 2.
He did not shoot down Death Stranding 2, more Death Stranding 2.
Yeah, it's possible.
That actually feels feasible.
Yeah.
God, was it really earlier this year that they showed that huge new trailer?
It was very earlier this year, but it was earlier this year.
That feels like a year ago. But anyway, yeah, we just saw a lot of Death Stranding 2 not long ago, so I don't know how much more. Maybe they'll show gameplay, actually.
An hour segment of Death Stranding 2. So let's get into pure speculation mode, and I hope we do not only cover the industry, we participate and like to play the games that are in it. So you guys have anything that we could start with might be reasonable to see, and then go further out from there? Yeah,
let's see. I mean, you can carve any Xbox and Activision related stuff out in Bethesda immediately, because that'll be at Xbox, of course.
Yeah.
They might cross-promote something, but it would not make sense, I think. Because, well, Microsoft's might be more focused, so who knows, maybe.
Yeah. But. Let's see.
How about, do we see Arc Raiders?
I would love to see that game.
Same.
I'm going to go down my list that I have picked that we have talked about before we get into things that are super fantastical. Wonder Woman.
Oh gosh, there was like just a story yesterday about that.
That feels less likely to me.
Not being in a great state, but I mean, rumors are rumors, gossip, who knows?
That's Monolith, right?
Yes.
Star Wars Eclipse still a thing?
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, as far as we know, I mean, they haven't said anything.
It has not been officially canceled or delayed or anything, as far as I know.
That's the Quantic Dream one, right?
Yes.
That's right, yeah. Outer Worlds 2.
Now actually feels like a decent time for them to do that if they're going to do it.
Are we talking just Summer Game Fest or everything?
We can kind of wrap up into everything.
Yeah, I guess
we did
let's say the larger
stuff.
June thing.
Yeah.
So that's Xbox, obviously. That's possible.
Yeah, I could see it. I feel like the time is right, at least to show like some trailer for it.
Although Avowed is coming out this year from the same studio, so maybe they would focus on
there.
That. Yeah, they could. They could show some of that. Also, what is going on with Outer Worlds 2 was still involved with Private Division, right? Which just got gutted.
Yeah, and there's all these stories coming out now that like actually Take-Two is shutting it down. They're just not saying they're shutting it down.
Oh, shutting down Private Division?
Yeah, so I don't know how that affects things there. I mean, if we're looking at the Microsoft list, I can definitely say, I mean, I want to see State of Decay 3 very badly.
Oh, sure.
Dying to see that game.
I bet it's not there.
Why would you say that?
I'm not saying that to be like dismissive. I'm saying that is a game they have not talked about at all in a long time. And given the state of where it seemed to be at the last time they talked about it, I feel like unless they are super ready and have a date for that thing, they are not going to talk about it again.
Yeah, it's been so long. I hope they are at that point, but who knows?
I mean, that's a cool one. I would like to see what
I would like to see it.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well. That and if we're just jumping around, Fable would be nice to see gameplay of Fable.
Yeah, OD for sure. I mean, like you can kind of go down the Xbox list and just say like literally everything on the list would be nice to see. But
anything that ain't out yet.
I'm certainly curious about OD.
That's the Kojima one.
Yeah, the Kojima Productions horror game.
Do we know much about that?
No,
not a lot other than the cast.
That's one.
The one that has Hunter Schafer in it, right?
Yeah. And Elle Fanning, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's one you could see.
George Miller.
Wait,
right?
really?
I thought George Miller was in Death Stranding.
He's in Death Stranding.
It's hard to keep track of which celebrities he has decided to put in which game.
There are so many celebrities in the Kojima orbit now.
That's one I feel like could be on both stages, where it's for more on this, tune into Microsoft's thing.
That's possible.
So like you have Kojima on the stage.
Would love to see what Rare is up to if Everwild still exists. And I'm curious about Clockwork Revolution, which, like, I don't have any affinity for steampunk as a setting, but people seem to really like Wasteland 3 a lot, and me playing Fallout 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like
you got an itch.
Any of the Interplay, Black Isle descended studios that are still around. I'm kind of curious what they're up to now.
Sure. Let's see. So it's Clockwork Revolution. You mentioned Everwild, Fable, OD, Outer Worlds 2. I'll just go this stuff that's still listed as no date.
Yeah.
Perfect Dark. Is that even worth mentioning at this point?
I don't know. I mean, that could show up in some form.
I would love to see some proof of life of that thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned Avowed. They have confirmed no Gears. Is that right? Or is that just
no? They haven't said anything.
They haven't said
about
anything.
that.
Okay.
The rumors were that there will be a Gear 6.
Okay.
But,
it was their post-show thing that was people thought was going to be Gears that turned out to be Call of Duty Black Ops.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say Call of Duty Black Ops, not the one I'm most excited to see more of.
Me either.
I'm trying
to think about what the other major publishers would have that aren't like Microsoft or Nintendo or Sony, and that's what I'm struggling with a little bit more. Like Ubisoft, I feel like is maybe the most known quantity in here. Like there will be something Assassin's Creed. There will probably be something involving that Star Wars game.
Yeah, that's closer than I realized.
They will probably make their last update ever at one of these shows for Skull and Bones for whatever future content they have, and then they will never talk about it again.
For Ubi?
Yeah. But like, what's EA gonna show that isn't just college football?
What is EA gonna show? I'm looking through my list, and I don't have an EA game listed on here right now.
Like, they will probably be on someone else's presentation, I would assume, if they're going to do anything.
I mean, I see nothing announced without a date from them right now. Maybe they have something new.
There's still plenty of room to show concept art from the Mass Effect Dragon Age universe.
No,
right?
they have to stop doing that.
I mean, honestly, let's be real. They need to show Dragon Age.
Yeah, they do.
or at least show Dragon Age holding up a newspaper.
Yes, with today's date on it. Yes, absolutely.
I'm okay. We're doing fine. It's it's Sunday.
All right, you want a pie in the sky thing from EA that I would love to see? Sims 5.
Oh,
okay.
It won't happen this year, but I feel like they're actually getting close to due for an actual new game.
Yeah, aren't they still pumping out Sims 4 expansions pretty regularly, though?
They do that on like a 4 times a year basis, and the thing is, that's fine, but at a certain point, people do want a new game eventually.
I thought when you said Sims, I thought you were going to say SimCity.
No, they'll never make another one of those.
Man, don't say that.
Is that Earth salted? Are all the people who are involved in the SimCity reboot gone at this point?
No, City Skylines came along and ate their lunch. Like, why do they even bother now?
It did, but now City Skylines has a bunch of problems, too. Like,
yeah.
2 launch in a rough state, but also I feel like there's like kind of a glut of city builders out there in different contexts. Sure. It's like here's a medieval city builder, here's a city builder on a mountain.
True.
Right. They will have college football, which I've heard good things about the previews of that game. Like, it sounds like they were actually allowed to do the thing they were supposed to be allowed to do, which is start fresh and not just take the existing Madden code and make a new game. So I've heard some somewhat exciting. I don't like college football, but it sounds like there is actually some reason to be excited about that game. So I would love to see what it looks like, and I will probably. But other than that, it's just the known quantities from them.
Probably some. Maybe have a Titanfall 3.
They'll have some partner game that appears on something else, I guess, like maybe on the Microsoft presentation or something. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like Titanfall hype is on some kind of weird cycle where it's been up again recently, where people are like, well, "Fucking make Titanfall 3 already! What are you doing?"
Yeah,
but I'm not holding my breath. They've got Skate 4. Like Skate 4 is on the books.
Sure. Yeah, and they've been doing some periodic updates from the developers with that game, so they're not like in hiding over that thing.
They have all their F1s and their dirts and their
all the Cody stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know. EA seems maybe EA at post Anthem, post a couple of moves here is just a little quieter right now. But as they kind of circle the wagons for, like I said, I don't know, for some reason Mass Effect and Dragon Age are the 2 ones that are like, hello. Hello? Just want to make sure these studios are still working.
Yeah, I mean, they just have gotten even more risk averse than they already were. You know, like it just seems like they've gone all in on sports and Sims and mobile and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Besides, okay, sorry, it's just shifting to another publisher here.
Yeah.
Besides GTA, NBA, and WWE, what the fuck does 2K have?
I mean, those are pretty big ones, just to be fair.
That's not me dissing any of those things. That's me saying those are the known quantities. What else have they got?
Oh. I'm trying to think of their offshoots. So there's Take-Two.
Well, there was Private Division.
There was Private Division, so what is Kerbal? We don't know.
They don't either, apparently.
No.
2K Games, obviously, is the main publishing branch that is not Rockstar.
I feel like they have more things. I'm going to look them up. I feel like they have more things than I ever remember in terms of their...
Well, I mean, like, they've got Firaxis, obviously, but, like, they just did Midnight Suns last year. Or was that 2 years ago? I thought that was last year.
That's 2 years ago.
Oh, maybe. Oh, you're right. It was like a December 2021, I think.
2K Games has a... I don't know if this is real, but NFL 2K
Not anymore.
arcade game?
Oh, right. I thought I remembered that announcement, and I've heard like nothing about it since, I think.
Cloud Chambers BioShock game?
Yeah, I had no idea what's going on with the BioShock franchise at this point.
Do you guys know what 31st Union multiplayer game would be? Have you heard of 31st Union?
I bet we talked about that studio being formed at some point, and I don't remember. I know the Hangar 18 thing that they were working on got canceled at some point. I don't know what that studio is working on now.
That's Wikipedia calls that an untitled Mafia game, so I don't know if that's...
Yeah, there have been some scuttlebutt about a new Mafia, potentially.
That might be the thing they're working on now.
Yeah.
Because they had an original thing they were going to make.
With the way Keeley's talking, though, I would guess we're not going to see much new.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of it.
Capcom's got Street Fighter. They're still updating.
Yeah, I think Monster Hunter is their big push here. Rightfully so.
Yeah, totally. What's WB doing?
Mortal Kombat, the guy from The Boys.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're putting out their DLC slate.
Oh, yeah, Homelander comes out this week, I think.
I think he's already out. But, like, beyond that,
Harry Potter stuff is still always coming out. I think there's more updates for Hogwarts. That game did very well.
I know it did very well, but I'm just are they still updating that game?
No, I don't think so.
I think an update just dropped.
Okay.
I don't follow it that much, but I think something just dropped. Something crossed my desk.
I mean, we said Monolith was working on that Wonder Woman thing.
Yeah, which I don't know how substantiated those rumors were about it not being in great shape.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair,
I mean, I imagine they're taking a long, hard look at all their superhero stuff at this point after Suicide Squad. Like, they're probably trying to figure out like what's viable and what isn't.
Oh, there's also the Black Panther game at EA, which I completely forgot about.
Which one is that?
That's just Black Panther.
That's just Black Panther. I think we assume like modern Black Panther being made by Cliffhanger Games, because there's also the Skydance, like historical, like Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like 1940s, right, yes. With 1940s Black Panther and Captain America.
With the other, like, which is just the soldier dude.
Yeah. Yes. Amy Hennig's working on that, right?
Yeah. Which has nothing to do with EA, but I don't think they've shown any footage, like gameplay or anything of the other Black Panther.
No, it's in the same boat as like Wolverine and Iron Man. Like, no one has seen any of that stuff, I don't think. Okay.
It does get pretty tough to keep tabs on the Marvel stuff. Because Arcane has the Blade one?
Yes, Arcane.
Yes.
Leon is doing Blade.
And then
who's doing Iron Man?
I'm not sure if there's an Iron Man in development.
I thought there was an Iron Man game.
There might be.
There's probably always an Iron Man in development. So, okay, let's just...
I believe Motive, EA's Motive is doing Iron Man. Right?
Okay, so they are doing both of those. Got it.
I just want to run down... I need a tab on our thing for just Marvel games now. So, all right, so we got Blade, we have the Black Panther game, we have the Marvel 1943, that's Captain America and Black Panther, the Black Panther game. And then there's Wolverine.
Insomniac's Wolverine, yes.
And then you said that there is a Motive doing an Iron Man game.
There is, in fact, an Iron Man game in development.
Okay. Any Hulk games out there?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
They still haven't made that Hulk solo movie, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, they made a bunch of them, but not in the MCU
That's
proper,
what I meant,
right?
yeah.
Like Hulk seems to have been demoted to second string.
Boo. You know, some games are tough. Hulk is just overpowered.
They made the perfect Hulk game 20 years ago in Hulk Ultimate Destruction.
Look,
You and I have never agreed about anything more than this.
I would also say that Wolverine game was very, very good. And
oh yeah, that one was all right.
Yeah. We had a period there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So superhero games not go anywhere. How about this? How about are we still going to see a lot of extraction shooters? Or are we kind of, those are all in development. We don't need to check in. We're good.
Yeah, like there's Marathon, which is that, but that's Sony, and that's ship has sailed for this summer.
Ubisoft is out, right?
Which one? X Defiant?
Well, sorry, is it Ubisoft who had the bubble one? Bubble Party? The foam
Stars. Foam Stars.
Oh, Square Enix.
That's Square Enix.
Okay. That wasn't really an extraction one, right? That was more like a territory control.
Splatoon-ish style of game, which has been out for some months now. What was the rumors were that Arc Raiders was retooling into an extraction shooter of sorts, or a PvPvE type thing, or something like that.
Okay.
Potentially. I don't know. Like, I don't think extraction shooters haven't like blown up the way that Battle Royale did necessarily, but they're definitely big.
The ones that hit.
Yeah, you know, like battle royale extraction shooter. There's definitely some. When I say that, I mean like hyphens between all those words. Like there is crossover in that genre where you can have a battle royale and extraction shooter in the same game. Some other stuff I just have on this list that I don't. You guys are gonna have to fill me in because sometimes I add stuff and I forget about it. Weird Song. Is that a thing that we
Weird Song?
Weird Song. You remember that at all?
No.
It looks cool.
Not at all.
Spell it. I don't.
WYRDSONG. Something Wicked Games. Put it up by NetEase.
Truly do not remember anything about this.
Had a cool look to it.
That is a video game. Yes.
Right.
I can now confirm.
Fair Games. Do you remember that one?
Vaguely. Oh, yes,
Sony's?
that's a Sony. Yeah, that's a Sony game, so that won't be anywhere.
Splash Damage's Transformers Reactivate. Remember that one?
Yes. They've never shown that other than that CG trailer, have they?
Nope. Or at least I haven't. Just the announced trailer, which might have been a Summer Games Fest.
Yeah, that feels like a while ago.
Okay, these ones I don't remember. Phantom Hellcat, Earthblade, Everstone, Where Winds Meet. I don't know that one.
That just got announced at the Sony thing last week.
Okay. I'm looking at the trailer now. Yes. Okay. Revenant Hill is done, right?
Yes,
the Glory Society.
That got canceled, unfortunately.
Sword of the Sea. Do you remember that one? Giant Squid.
There were like 3 games that came out within a short span of each other that all had Of the Sea or something like that in the title.
Yeah, Giant Squid is the Abzu developer. Yes, I do remember Sword of the Sea.
Let's see. Citizen Sleeper 2. Is that a release date? I don't know if that does.
I think it's this year.
John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, anyone?
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that one.
Oh my god.
That was shown last year too, wasn't it?
I believe that's right.
Focus, right.
Ooh, I'm raising my hand.
Okay.
Light No Fire.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they just kind of do things on their own terms at this point. Like they could be at something. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
This is where they were last time, right?
When
they
Awards.
announced. Oh,
yeah, that was just 6 months ago. I doubt, and they are teasing yet another No Man's Sky add-on right now.
Okay,
so I'm guessing it's going to be a while before we hear more about that game.
Do you guys remember the casting of Frank Stone, the Supermassive game? It was a cool name.
Barely.
It's the next Supermassive.
I think I actually did not know this was their next thing.
We definitely talked about this name at some point because it is.
Right. It's the one set in the Dead by Daylight world.
Yes.
That's why I don't remember it. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
Same, which is probably not fair. Like, I mean, it looks like very much their style of game, right?
Yeah, it's totally a Supermassive game.
Yeah, like that's fine. It doesn't matter that it's set in another game's universe.
That Jurassic Park survival game, that's a Saber game. Maybe that's still going. I assume that's still going.
Speaking of Saber, I guess we can mention the KOTOR remake.
The KOTOR remake.
But I mean, that was was Sony affiliated. Whether that's still the case, I don't. It was supposed to be an exclusive, at least, I believe, but who knows?
Yeah. All right. That's there's a Dune game, Dune Awakening. Is that actually going to?
I do remember that.
That's my list.
Yeah,
That's
there isn't
it.
much else that I can think of off the top of my head that I'm just like desperate to see. I just want stuff to fill out this year. That's it. That's really my only hope and dream here.
My hope and my dream.
Yeah, I'm trying to be reasonable about this because I know we are in a lull because of very specific economic and external factors. I'm not trying to force games into the world that aren't ready yet. It's just like, man, I look at the rest of this year and I'm just like, I need some of this calendar filled in, please.
Brad, do you get a trailer or some kind of promotional material for Kingdom Rush 5?
That'll just come out.
They don't need it?
They don't need to promote that game.
They don't need it. More World of Goo 2. I mean, these are games that have dates and that are coming out soon.
Yeah, there's a ton of indie games still on the docket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not a ton, but a small, let's say a small ton. Still
A
very
ton.
light October, November, December. Maybe we'll see some more Space Marine 2, maybe some of the multiplayer.
That's possible.
Do we know the state of Stalker 2?
Yeah, that's happening.
It's actually further
That
along,
was-
I think, than maybe you're thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely happening.
It's got a September date on it. I just feel like I haven't seen anything from it.
Yeah, I mean, remember that was developed in Ukraine,
Yes,
so
yeah.
things obviously got disrupted there.
Totally.
I believe didn't they relocate development eventually?
I think they did, yeah.
Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, they'll show that at Ubisoft.
Yeah, they
I assume.
absolutely will. That's coming out in August, so they absolutely will be showing more of that.
Do you have anything else in the hopper that like maybe would be like a Watch Dogs or something else that might be coming along? It feels like they're all in on Assassin's Creed as far as their big open world stuff goes.
Yeah, I think Star Wars and Shadows are the big push from them, which they should be.
Yeah.
You know? Like Skull and Bones was not it, but those games I'm sure will do quite well.
There will be a Just Dance.
So, you think they show gameplay from that new Assassins?
Probably.
Like
at least a
probably.
teaser of some kind.
Yeah, because that narrative CG trailer they put out was pretty extensive already. So I don't know how you just like talk more about that game and show more cutscenes and not actually show the game itself.
Right.
Like I think they, and it's coming out this year, so like surely it's far enough along to show some gameplay.
Like I feel like Ubisoft is not above doing just a live-ish demo or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's some of our things we're looking for. There's plenty of stuff out there they could fill a press conference with. And, I'm with you, Alex. Just getting some dates for the back end or the end of the year, we should say, would be nice, though. Plenty to play now still.
Yeah.
But it was a little weird doing that Planorama and being like, we don't have anything in December or November earmarked right now.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't usually go that way. Should we take a quick break? We'll come back, talk a little more news here. We have Sony's announcements, though they're not big, and then some other things we can talk about right after this. Stick around. This week's show is brought to you by Squarespace. Alex Navarro, Brad Shoemaker, the web. It's big, and there's a lot of stuff out there on it.
It's big, but it's not as big as it used to be. There's not enough websites these days, is something I find myself saying a lot. And it's because all the websites have become like 4 websites, and I think more people need to get out there and make more websites.
You're saying, how do I make a website that stands out?
No, I'm just saying, how do I make a website, period? Because nobody makes websites anymore.
I was actually just explaining the web to my kids, web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, as one does at the dinner table. And what a modern website. Oh, these were the ages of web rings. This was the age of Flash and overwrought sites. Squarespace is here to bring you into the modern age of website design with easy tools like Squarespace Blueprint. That's where you can choose from templates that'll help you get where you want to be on the web as quickly as possible with as little interruption and bumps along that road as they can help you with. Which is, I'm going to say, there's a lot going into websites these days. As somebody who has dabbled in trying to make websites, they're more complicated than they used to be. You don't just put up an HTML flat doc and say, read it and email me. For example, there are all sorts of ways for people to pay you for your goods or services that you might want to have on your website. And Squarespace allows you to do flexible payments, including PayPal, credit cards, Apple Pay.
E-commerce. You know I love it.
E-commerce, it's happening. How do you get this stuff on your website? Well, did you know you can put stuff behind a paywall? Video, your art, let's say. You can all do this with Squarespace's tools. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Look, all the kids are making websites now. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're back in fashion.
Yes, truly never been a better time to make a website. You could go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Nextlander to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/Nextlander to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code Nextlander. Thanks, Squarespace. All right, we are back, and we're still kind of chatting about the summer game festivals happening out there, and publishers getting out there talking about their lineups, and one of those publishers being Sony with a kind of, I don't know, I feel like their promotional game isn't necessarily what it was 5 years ago. They kind of get out there, dropped a state of play a couple of days before it went live, maybe literally a couple of days, I think 2 or 3. And then it was about, what, half hour?
Yeah, 35 minutes, something like that.
But they had a couple of games here. Brad, you want to walk us through some of what they had?
Yes. I'm trying to think, like, what is the biggest thing here to lead with, because it was a bit of a more sedate presentation. I mean, I think it had some good stuff for sure, but it wasn't like a lot of the pomp that you would expect out of an E3 time frame thing. To the extent that they called it a state of play, not a PlayStation showcase, which is what they usually call their big E3 stream, E3-ish time frame stream.
Well, what was big for you?
Probably Astrobot is the thing that was getting the most talk, I feel like.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy to think about in the context of the last like 5-6 years. And what Sony's output has been like up to this point, that like the last time we saw this franchise was as a free pack-in, arguably half-tech demo sort of game. And now it's like the thing that's kind of headlining their presentation. It's like, don't get me wrong, I am not complaining. It's kind of incredible to see a 3D platformer be this big of a thing. Kind of takes you back to like the PS2 days. PS1, PS2, you know?
Yeah.
When these games were big. Sounds like a big game.
And this got a date? I don't think I had caught the date.
Yeah, September 6th.
Okay.
Coming out soon. It's coming out in 3 months.
It looked cool. I mean,
honestly, it was the most thrilling thing they had.
Yeah, it looks super well made, like a lot of variety in there. They're saying 80 levels.
Okay.
Still very, very, integrated into the PlayStation nostalgia. Yeah. A lot of PlayStation franchises represented in there in various
like
ways.
You're flying on some kind of DualSense plane. There's that shot of this like intergalactic fleet of PlayStation looking ships. It's kind of weird stuff.
There's like the God of War Astrobot.
Yeah, there was a Parappa bot in here, which is pretty awesome.
Will they do bosses that are like based on the enemies of PlayStation over the years? Like, is Bill Gates going to be a boss? Is the concept of Bleem going to be a boss?
Yeah, the concept, yes.
Yeah, the cell processor.
The Bleem booth.
Yes, that if you fought the cell processor, that would be incredibly self-referential for a lot of developers.
Ken Kutaragi behind it, like just writing it like Dr. Wily.
This weird-looking PS5 that comes out of the sand, some people pointed out it's just the PS5 with the side panels taken off.
Oh.
This is why we were like, what is that PS5?
It's PS5 Pro.
It's just a naked PS5.
PS5.
Yeah, this looks cool. We'll definitely play this.
Anything else jump out at you?
Let me say really fast about it. There's no way this will happen. I said this on Twitter. They need to take the PlayStation Labo from the first from Playroom.
Yep.
Give it VR support.
What was the PlayStation Labo?
Labo was that hub where you unlocked everything, and it was like a ridiculous concentration of like PlayStation memorabilia.
Where your PlayStation would go and you jump on the buttons.
Yeah. You like freaking, you could unlock like the concept designs of the old PlayStation logo. And a million things like that.
Yeah.
That hardware was so well rendered. I want to be able to like pick it up and look at it with my hands in 3D and in VR. Or just add it to the old game if you want. I don't care. It's never going to happen, but man, that would be cool.
I don't know. Sometimes I get confused when we think back to Astro's Playroom and the Astrobot games and which one had the VR and which one didn't, and which they've done Astro in VR.
Yeah, like that's where it started. Astrobot Rescue Mission was the first game. That was just a PSVR game. So
right. Yeah.
There is some lineage there. I mean, VR is like so kind of moribund with Sony. We'll talk about that later. That it's not going to happen, but the hardware is all so detailed. Yes. I just want to like look at it as close as possible and flip it around.
Delicious hardware.
I do think it's interesting that now they have decided that it is time for Astrobot to actually be their mascot platformer, since Insomniac 1 is not making more Ratchet at the moment, and 2, before this, they were like, Astro really was just the new doodad tester character. Like you went in there to show off the controller or the VR stuff or whatever. And now it's like, no, we just made you a real game. You're just going to be a platformer hero now.
Like some of this is just my age, we're getting to the point where we're very nostalgic about how things used to be, but like for a major platform holder to now have a like character platformer mascot is maybe the most heartwarming thing that could happen.
A recently invented one.
To me, yeah. I mean, obviously Nintendo's got Mario, but Mario's like way bigger than just platformers at this point.
And old.
Right. But for like, this is, they used to have Crash Bandicoot and then arguably Jak and Daxter to an extent, but... And
then Ratchet.
If Sony has a new mascot in Astrobot, I'm very pleased about it.
That PlayStation 5 is Astrobot-like in its colors and contours, and you could see it fitting in the Astrobot verse pretty well. So maybe there is some direction there.
Yes, the Concords was, I guess, the other big reveal here. They had announced that game before, but they showed it for real.
Yeah.
It is a 5v5 hero multiplayer shooter, which is not what I expected that game to be at all.
And boy, some of those character designs are very Guardians of the Galaxy.
It feels, the whole tone of the thing feels extremely Guardians, which, you know if you like that or not.
But it's like Guardians then mixed with Overwatch, right? And they're going to do, I think they said they're going to do character-focused things like every week, right?
They're doing like narratives, like cutscenes around that stuff. It's just unfortunate that they had to show that in the same presentation as the literal, actual Marvel hero shooter that is also just Overwatch.
Yes. Yes. A lot of those types of games out there still.
And that's got, I think, a beta in August, right? Like a open beta? Maybe it's closed. I can't remember.
Yeah, it comes out in late August, so that'll just be kind of a short beta. That could be cool. I mean, I'll give it a chance, but not necessarily based on that like kind of tone piece teaser trailer they put out a couple years ago. That's not what I was necessarily looking for out of this, but it could be cool.
A lot of people very excited about Path of Exile 2.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's coming out on PC as well, obviously, but first time on console, I want to say, for that franchise. Yeah, I could be wrong. I fucking said it during the stream. Ask me anything about Path of Exile.
It's not Pillars of Eternity. That's the only one PoE.
Yes.
Speaking of GOWs, not Gears of War, but they had their PC God of War.
Yeah, Ragnarok coming to PC.
Yeah, which they just showed look nice. They kind of went tech heavy in that. Do you remember that thing? They were just like, there's all this PC.
Look at all the upscaling we've got.
Yeah.
Here's 32:9 support. Did not get a date on the Until Dawn remake, which is supposed to be out this year.
Oh, no date on that?
So hopefully that's still coming. I thought they did not show a lot of VR, but I thought the two things they showed were pretty interesting. Well,
they showed well.
Skydance's Behemoth looks kind of awesome. Like that was actually one of the things I was the most impressed with out of this thing. Mainly just because it looks like a lot of very physicsy medieval combat.
Sure.
That looks like it's implemented pretty well. There's also Servios is also doing an Alien game in VR, which seems kind of crazy. That hasn't happened before now, but
nobody can handle the terror of that.
Like you said during the thing, there was the isolation, right? There was that.
There was the VR mode for isolation.
That was just a mod. People hacked that in, but apparently
the closest you can get
pretty well. And I never tried it because I don't think I could handle it. Like
I could barely handle that game in normal.
Like a lot of people have talked about it, like it was too much for them.
But this one looked like a Space Marine combat.
Yeah. Yes.
What else?
New Dynasty Warriors? Anybody?
Yeah, sure. How many Dynasty Warriors can you fit on a PlayStation 5?
We're about to find out.
Platformer mascots and new Dynasty Warriors games. It's
I don't know who I am anymore because when they showed that, there had been some rumors about that being on there, and I was like, okay, sure, why not? When they actually showed it, there was like a little bit of a cheer inside of me of just like, fucking yeah, absolutely. Let's bring Dynasty Warriors back in the next gen. The world needs this now more than ever.
Dynasty Warriors Origins, Alex. So.
Maybe it doesn't need that. Maybe it just needs an actual sequel, but whatever. Like, finally, we will know what happens in the Yellow Turban Rebellion.
Just let me know when Dynasty Warriors Origins Empires comes out.
Monster Hunter Wilds. That's
not for me, but looks nice.
Yeah, that showed super well. I liked World. I didn't finish it. I got a good ways into it, but I'm very curious about Wilds. Sorry.
What else? Anything else? Silent Hill 2 that showed briefly.
There was definitely some discourse about some of the character designs and redesigns. I have not kept up with very much of it because, you know me, I'm not a giant Silent Hill guy. But a lot of the people who were not expecting great things of this remake seemed like they did not see much in that trailer that they liked.
Yeah, I don't know. I also did not play Silent Hill much at all back in the day. I mean, I'll see how it turns out.
Yeah.
That Infinity Nikki game?
I'm kind of... I might play Infinity Nikki.
So the one with the cat? Is it a cat? Is it
there's
something
in
a cat costume?
Yes, there's apparently those, like the Nikki franchise is pretty big on mobile, is my understanding.
It's very big on mobile.
So
yes,
this is apparently kind of descended from that.
Okay.
I might play this.
And then I mentioned it before, but that Where Winds Meet, which looks like a third-person action
game.
What is the standing on trees like style of martial combats, like wire work?
Oh, like wuxia?
Yeah,
wuxia kind of stuff. Yeah,
wuxia. Okay, yeah, it's got that vibe of.
Yeah, sure. Yes, it does. Actually, I had forgotten about that. That looks well. They didn't show gameplay today. Is this all cinematics? No, there is some gameplay in here. They had games, like I feel like the response to this thing was like weirdly negative. I think a lot of people just set themselves up for disappointment. Because I mean, they told investors a while back, like, hey, no new existing IP this year, like no big tentpole games. They called this thing a state of play. They said it was only 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like within those constraints, it was actually quite good.
I didn't really have a problem with it. I think my expectations are pretty tempered at this point. With just kind of we talk a lot about the state of the industry and what's coming out, and we look at the calendars every month and stuff like that. So I think I would have been shocked if they had dropped something big here. It would have been a weird one. They have Destiny rolling out, is out now. The DLC Final Shape.
Yes, Final Shape came out yesterday as of this recording.
I'm sure they're still kind of figuring out what they want to do internally. Like, games, I think Sony was one of the ones that announced they had dropped one or two projects, right? Didn't we talk about that at some point?
There was the big kind of culling of their live service projects after Bungie came in. Remember they talked about dropping a number of those?
Yeah. I think the only thing I was maybe surprised not to see something about was Helldivers related, just how successful that game was, just to remind people that that's a Sony joint,
Yeah, I can't imagine relations between Arrowhead and Sony are at their peak right now.
No, I would imagine not.
After all the recent turmoil.
Yeah, but even still, like that might be a small, I don't want to undermine it, but it was kind of a big deal, but a smaller subset of Sony wanting to say like, hey, don't forget, we have Helldivers. That's on our stuff. You should play it. And get out there and go unlock new mechs.
What if you made a PlayStation Network account at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, for all your benefits, get a free Mac.
Highly recommended.
Highly recommended. But there was one thing that we had talked about, Brad, that was not shown there.
How this just ended up being a PlayStation blog announcement like 4 days later, I don't know. They announced that that PSVR 2 adapter for PC.
Mm-hmm. It's like really real. It's real.
It's real, and in some ways it's better, and in some ways it's worse than we could have hoped. The better is that it's only $60, which like there was definitely some accusation of this being of like an Apple-like move to charge $60 for this thing, but we should reiterate, prior to this, the only adapter on the market there has been that Ivory guy that's been working on a PSVR 2 driver himself. The only other adapter on the market that would get this thing working on a PC was like $300.
Yeah,
and
$200 to $300. So $60 in that context, very good.
And we've been talking about this for a while. Again, this is getting the PSVR 2 headset on a PC,
like for
to
real.
Function. What's that?
Like for real on the
for
PC.
Real,
like
to function with like other game platforms like Steam.
Yeah. They quite literally list a Steam account as a requirement for this thing.
This is how they're going to get their Sony signups. Finally. I was going to say it wasn't a long hike from us talking about this is highly unlikely to ever happen to here we are with a box at $60. Now, I'm sure you're going to go into the details in a second, but I'm pretty happy just to have basic support for this headset and what sounds like official integration into the Steam store, which, because my main goal is, will I be able to play Half-Life Alyx,
dude,
in VR?
Like, Sony doesn't really roll this way, but it almost feels kind of tongue-in-cheek, the promotional image they made for this. Mm-hmm. It's flat out a PSVR 2 facing a computer monitor that has Half-Life Alyx on it.
Yeah.
They know what people want. Yeah.
Yes, they very much know what people want. And I wonder if this is also an implicit acknowledgement that a native PS5 port of Alyx will never, ever happen. Maybe Valve was just completely uninterested in doing it. But, so let's see. So it is like very much tied into Steam VR. Like I said, they literally list a Steam account as a requirement to use this. The downsides of this are not all of the advanced features are coming over
that you get on the PS5 native.
Yes. So HDR, headset feedback, which is like the haptics in the headset, eye tracking, adaptive triggers, and haptic feedback on the controllers are not supported on PC.
Yeah. And it doesn't say coming soon, and it doesn't say like this is, it just says not supported, right?
Yeah, which is like easy to just like knee-jerk react poorly to, It's just like, oh man, what do you mean? Like that's a lot of what made this headset good.
Yeah.
The more I look into it though, the more that it seems like basically nothing on the PC would use those features anyway.
Is eye tracking not a big thing?
I don't think it is. I'm guessing because there are so many headsets on the market that don't support it, I'm guessing it's just not used much on PC.
Okay.
Like a big part of why it's used on PS5 is to do foveated rendering, which is the thing where you put all your detail into where your eye is looking and make the edges look crappy so you can increase performance basically. And like a console needs that, right? Because consoles are not that powerful. That's less important on a PC, obviously.
So yeah, those features for me, again, I just don't have a PC VR setup at all. So while it would have been great to have those in, and maybe some of that will come along unofficially from people who can put in that stuff. HDR might be tough depending on the ports and the guts of that box. Like that just might not physically be possible.
Some people have questioned whether the DisplayPort version they're using even has the bandwidth to do HDR at the resolution they're doing. Mm-hmm. I will say I looked at the Ivory developer's Twitter, like people were asking him like, hey, do you think you'll be able to like hack in these missing features once this is out? And his response was technically yes, practically maybe.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, look.
So it's possible some of this stuff will come online later through community efforts. Like just having this cheap adapter out there is the best thing that could happen for even those like homebrew development efforts.
I am so excited about this that I have now put myself in a panic that I will never get one because it will be sold out immediately and be one of those really hard things to find.
It'll be fun.
Speaking of someone who holds on to his Rock Band drum adapter like it is the fucking, the holy grail, let me tell you right now, you should get one of those right away if you're going to get one.
Don't get me wrong, like I'm certain, you should definitely get one as soon as you can. Also, like, come on, man, we know people.
I don't know that many people. Let me just say, Sony weird peripherals are some of worse than almost Nintendo weird peripherals. The PlayStation memory card thing. Did you guys get the PSVR 1 adapter for the PS5? Okay.
Yes, I have that.
Like you said, the Rock Band adapter, Alex, which is was that an Xbox or that was a Sony thing?
That was a PDP thing.
PDP
that was necessary to make it so that the MIDI adapter for the 360 could work on the current Xbox platforms.
Okay.
These will be plentiful because they want to sell all those unsold headsets they have.
I just don't. They might be plentiful out of the gate, but I would say if you just historically speaking, the manufacturing timeline on these might not extend out that long. They might make a bunch of them, and depending on how they sell, these could be sitting in a warehouse in a Sony back room for a long time. With
my guess is like if you want one this year, you absolutely will be able to get one. If you want one 3 years from now,
that's my point.
Less clear,
or you might be paying a markup. So, Brad, do you want to just go down quickly here how this all works in terms of what you need on a PC? Like, this isn't just I have a bare bones PC I can play VR on it. Is it?
It's pretty. The requirements are pretty modest. Core i5 7600 or a Ryzen 3 3100, which those are very old CPUs at this point. Only 8 gigabytes of memory. Only a any Turing GeForce card, which is like the 20 series, or I think it's like the 1650 was also Turing technically. Radeon like 5500 XT. Like that's also pretty old hardware. I mean, they're saying obviously you want newer for better performance, but
that's pretty low. It's like seems below what most VR specs are.
That is the technical minimum spec that will just get this running. So, so that's pretty.
And
pretty modest.
You do need Bluetooth?
Yeah, for the controllers.
Oh, do you have to play with the PlayStation? Oh, you have to play with those PlayStation wand controllers. You're not just playing with for some reason I thought I would be playing with the PS5 controller on here for some games.
I bet there are like games that are getting ported, or games that just use controllers. I bet you can use whatever controller you want. Steam handles controller compatibility quite well these days. And
so this goes into a port on your video card, a display port on your video card?
It's kind of a little bit of a spaghetti situation, but it's probably fine. It goes USB 3. It's like a USB-A connector, not C. USB 3 and display port into your video card, USB 3 into the computer. And external power. It'll have an external power brick into the wall as well.
And then hopefully the idea is I can use one of the extra ports on my video card. I don't have to hot swap my monitor with this thing.
Oh, if you have an extra one, you should be fine.
Should be fine, and that would just show up as a secondary or a tertiary display or something that is only for VR. It won't like push my desktop over to it.
It shouldn't, no.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. They're not on sale yet. Like you said, $60.
August.
Yeah, August. I'm saying like I haven't seen any pre-orders. I looked because there is a link in their announcement for like you can buy these directly from the Sony Direct. Like not yet. No, I can't.
Yeah, well, the bigger thing there, as far as them pushing people to the store, is them going like, "Hey, you can also get the headset for $100 off."
It is $100
by the way.
Off now, yeah. By the way, and again, I don't know PC VR stuff, so I don't know if that means. I don't know what the market is. Like, how much is an Index at this point for?
Index is still pretty expensive, but also Index is somewhat outdated by now. There's a bunch of rumors about, like, I think Deckard is the code name for the next Valve headset that's rumored.
Okay.
Like if there's a code name out there, then probably something is happening there. I mean, the Index is not that outdated, but like, it's like 4 years old now.
So you should definitely, like most things, definitely don't take my word on whether you should go get one. I'm not endorsing that. I'm, as somebody who owns this and doesn't want to buy another VR thing, I'm pretty excited to be able to explore what's on the PC with this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's who this is best for, is if you already had this thing for just the PS5 and you want to play stuff on PC, you can for cheap. Should you go get this thing if you don't have any headset? That's much less clear.
Yeah.
Like the Quest 3 is also quite good. There are a lot of very high-end headsets out on PC now. that are better than this one. So there's a whole, and the Quest 3 is competitive price range with this very much.
Do you think Call of the Mountain comes over to PC?
I don't know. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah,
like you could see them porting. There's not exactly a lot of PSVR 2 games to port.
No.
But you could see...
That is sort of the sticky wicket here.
So that's the thing, actually. Like, in theory, it would be easy to say, hey, you should get this for PC and PS5, because then you can play all the games on both.
Yeah.
Except in practical terms, there are not a lot of games on the PS5 to play.
No.
Or at least not a lot of exclusives. I mean, there are a fair number, but a lot of them came from PC in the first place.
Ports.
I bet people like me who have this and a, PC that they never got fully invested on the VR side are also very excited. Like, if I had a PC VR setup, I've got a pretty powerful PC here, or at least relatively powerful PC here that could support a expensive VR setup. I don't think I would be that excited, I don't, but that's not what I have.
Yeah. I mean, the other cool thing this opens up, if you're coming from PS5, is the world of VR modding. Like we talked about, like the Alien Isolation VR thing was a fan mod. That was not official.
That Resident Evil VR mod, right?
Yeah, there's there's a VR version of actually that happened, I think, eventually. Doom 3. Didn't that come out in VR officially finally?
I
can't remember. I think that's right. Anyway, but like people are modding VR stuff all the time. So then there'll be a bunch of stuff to explore if you're just coming from the closed ecosystem of a console.
The big news is it's happened, or is happening.
Yeah.
August. Look out for it.
Is it actually as momentous as the amount of time we've devoted to
I'm pretty
wringing our hands about it? Probably not, but I'm very excited to finally play Alex on a nice headset.
Yeah, and also some other, I think there's also that big VR game that everybody was super excited about from a couple of months ago that I think was PC only. They were saying it was like the best VR game ever made.
Oh, that was, God, the name is escaping me at the moment. That was a Quest exclusive.
Oh.
Although there are ways to use non-Oculus headsets to play stuff like that.
Still not all the way there. Okay. Finally here. That's the Sony stuff. Well, Alex, you like your Prestige television?
I guess.
Did you finish the Fallout series?
No, I'm halfway through it.
Okay, well, you better hurry up. Because you're getting your... I was going to make the joke, but I couldn't remember the thing from the Planorama, Tokyo Crime Boss or whatever.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Tokyo Crime Simulator?
I believe that's more or less what it was.
You're getting your Tokyo Crime Simulator movie or Amazon Prime series coming. No, you're getting your Like a Dragon, your Yakuza, your Prestige...
Sorry, we got to be accurate here. Tokyo Mafia Simulator is
the
game
There you go.
That we discovered on the Planorama this month, which just go look at the Steam page for that if you haven't.
Or don't. You don't have to.
No, but what kind of precipitation are we doing here? What is this?
So are you excited for this?
I don't know is the thing. I don't really know the principal players that are involved in this. It is a Japanese series, like it is a Japanese language series, Japanese actors. They are doing an English dub, but it will be available in both languages. It's a 6-episode series. They are dropping 3 episodes at a time. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
They have done, as far as I know, they have done this exactly once before. They made a Yakuza movie in the mid-2000s. Takashi Miike directed it, one of the 7,000 movies he has directed. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was not very good. This seems like it probably has a little bit more budget and production behind it than that thing did. But here's my thing.
What's your thing?
What exactly kind of story are they going to tell that could not have been told just as well by those video games? And it maybe has already been told just as well by those video games.
Yeah, well, this variety story says exactly what it is. The series is set in 2 time periods, 1995 and 2005, follows the life, childhood friends, and the repercussions of the decisions of a fearsome and peerless Yakuza warrior and with a strong sense of justice, duty, and humanity. That's a weirdly wordy description. It's about Kiryu.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is, like, Kiryu's story has been detailed in exhaustive detail over the course of several very long video games.
Fair.
But look.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point, actually. Like, thinking about thinking about why I liked the Fallout series so much, it was almost entirely because it told its own story.
Yeah.
And a story that felt like it fit that world and like was like reverent toward the source material without being like fawning or obsequious about it, or overly referential and going like, hey, look at this, you remember this? Like it really elegantly like slid into that fiction, but was its own thing. And I guess, yeah, if this is just retelling something you've already seen in the game, that makes this more akin to like the Last of Us series.
Yeah. And, you know, again, it's not that I don't think anyone can do something like this well. Like, it has been done well in other contexts. But my problem is the thrust of Kiryu's story and what makes it interesting is that they are taking a billion different tropes from various Yakuza mob movies and other things and applying them to this very video gamey universe, which is this series of beat-em-ups and eventually turn-based, you know, combat games. And what makes the storytelling in those games novel is that it's not Streets of Rage, it's not Final Fight, it's not just a revenge story, it's they are telling really gripping and like often multi-layered stories within the context of this kind of 3D beat-em-up. I don't think doing that in just a regular, you know, TV or movie medium is as novel because all the stuff that Yakuza pulls from is other Yakuza movies for the most part and other like big Japanese dramas.
You know, I'm with you, Alex, but we might be wrong because
I could be 100% wrong.
Yeah. You and I think you and I said this same thing. Both of us were like, why would you make a Last of Us series? Like, that game is already a narrative adventure game.
I mean, to be fair, I'm still asking that question.
Totally. And like, that is a very narrative heavy game that is basically a movie with some gameplay in it.
Yeah.
And that thing took off in a way that I did not expect it to be embraced. So maybe this is maybe the appetite's just out there, you know?
Yeah. And again, this is not me saying don't make stuff based on video games. There are plenty of contexts where someone has taken that idea and done something really novel with it, Fallout being a great example of that. But I think right now my appetite for seeing an actor do the Kiryu story, even if it is a variation on it, dude, I'm literally playing through the game where they spend 100 hours saying goodbye to Kiryu after another several hundred hours of story prior to that. Like, what am I going to get out of this?
Look, yeah, you're right. But I think these things seem to, at this time and place, hinge on, are they done well? Are they given the money to do them well? And are the actors and actresses compelling enough to keep you through? And if those things line up, you know, it's just cool stories. Do you make Kiryu goofy? Is he a goofball?
He doesn't start out that way, is the thing. Like, that's a thing that kind of develops over time.
Is Majima in this? He should be.
I mean, he's in the first game.
I don't know where 95 and 2005 line up with the series, like how old he is by that point.
If I remember correctly, and there is absolutely the possibility that I don't, but I think I do, the gap is the time between when he went to prison and when he got out. Because in the first game, I think he goes to prison for several years and then gets out. If I'm remembering my lore correctly, there is also a part with Ichiban where he goes to prison for like 18 years. So I might be mixing some things up. There's a lot of these games and a lot of stuff happens in them, to be fair.
Could be fun. Could be nonsense. It's hard to tell.
I'm going to try it. I'll give it a shot. Like, I will give it an open, fair shot. It's not a thing that immediately excites me.
That is the Like a Dragon Yakuza. What is that? That is their name they're giving it, right? Like a Dragon Yakuza. Yes.
Yeah. Like a Dragon : Yakuza is what they're calling it. This might be the fact that I have only played 7. I'm sad it doesn't seem like this is going to include a live action Ichiban.
I think we're a ways away from that.
Because that is just such a goofy character that like translating that to an actual actor's performance is like, I would love to see them try to pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who the actor is playing Kiryu?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm not super up on modern Japanese actors for the most part, so I don't know him particularly.
I'm going to mispronounce this.
Takeuchi Ryoma.
Okay. Kamen Rider is a
very big franchise in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Is it an anime, though?
No, it's live action.
It is. Okay.
There might be some anime version of it, but it is a live action series in the vein of like an Ultraman, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
I bet he's ripped.
Probably. I mean, he'd fucking better be. Not that I'm saying he needs to go take the Marvel juice or anything, but like he definitely like look, man, Kiryu's fucking cut, all right?
Yeah. Cut and a lot of tattoos. I hope they get the tattoos right. There's a lot of tattoos in that game.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it for the news. We're going to take another break here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about, what's been taking up our gaming time a bit. Spoilers. I'm back on that Final Fantasy, baby. You can hear all about it after the break. Be right back. And we are back. And we are in it. The video games. Ones you may have heard of, and the ones I definitely have never heard of. Alex, what is up with Arctic eggs?
You've never heard of Arctic eggs, really?
I have never heard of the video game Arctic. Of course, I've heard of Arctic. It's hard for me to say.
No, you can't even say it.
I can't say it. Yeah, what's up? What's up with these eggs?
This is a $10 game, which is on Steam. It is a goofy physics game of a sort. You are a person in a dystopian future colony where it seems like there's a lot of, let's just say, people that have been kind of stitched and re-put back together and other weird... The character models in this game are very weird looking. And your job in your demotion is you are now the poultry acquirer for this city. And what you essentially do is you have nothing but a cast iron skillet.
Yep.
That auto heats. And what you do is anyone who's hungry, you walk up to them. If someone isn't hungry, they'll say, they'll tell you something silly, and then they won't be hungry. If someone is hungry, then they cut you right into a minigame where your entire job is to cook and flip the things they put in your pan.
Using, like, the mouse?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I imagine you could probably also do this with a controller, but I'm playing with the mouse, which seems like how it's intended. The sensitivity is adjustable, though, I mean, it sort of depends on what objects you have in there. And it's not just eggs. It is not just illegal poultry. They will dump fish in there of varying varieties. Sometimes they will put cigarettes in there. The cigarettes, which they say are used for flavor, are also sort of like a timing mechanic. So when the cigarette burns out, that kind of means you haven't cooked it fast enough. And the physics are real silly. They're a little all over the place. And the food is real silly. And the people are real weird. And the tone is real weird. And I kind of love it.
This feels like a game in an alternate dimension where TGS was still a huge thing and globalization in video games didn't happen and the Wii was still around. We would all be going to TGS and talking about Arctic eggs, and this is the Wii game, and this is never coming to the United States, and you had to be there.
Somebody would be running back to the booth or wherever, the hotel suite in the case of TGS, and just going like, oh yeah, you guys have to go see this weird game in the corner over here.
Yeah, this is like, and
it's back there next to Work Time Fun.
Yes, a game we'd be talking about in 2024 and be like, remember Arctic eggs, that weird Japanese game that never came over?
I've been meaning to check this out for a while. I feel like we're kind of burying the lead here, which is this game is going out of its way to look like Metal Gear Solid. Like
kind
hardcore.
of, yeah. It's definitely that PlayStation swimmy kind of like textures and vertices.
I don't know. I don't know if I love their swimmy vertex implementation that kind of just looks like the characters are like weird blobs a little bit. It
fits in this game because everybody is very off-kilter and weird, and it just kind of feels like you're tripping on mushrooms the entire time you're there, so it works.
But specifically, it's the texture quality, the like dithered-looking filter they've got on everything, the low res, and particularly the color palette.
Yeah.
Like that haze. Like it's this like industrial-looking... It looks like the helipad area kind of from MGS. Like it just looks like this industrial area with all this like blue and purple haze everywhere.
Somebody's got to sell eggs and cook eggs in outer heaven.
Illegal eggs.
I think I might be coming around on the like retro PS1 aesthetic, honestly.
I think if you apply it in a way that is novel or interesting, it isn't just trying to be like PlayStation swimmy textures. Like if you were doing something that makes it feel like it fits within the context of the game you are making, I'm all for it. And in this case, that's what this feels like. The swimmy characters feel like they are just kind of undulating in front of you because the whole world feels like it isn't quite fitting together right.
So as you're playing it, is it fun to do the mechanic in it, or is it frustrating? Like, does it play well aside from having like a funny setup?
I'd say it's like a little frustrating, but that frustrating feels like the intent. Like it's like it's not a long game. I beat the entire thing in maybe just under 3 hours. So those like individual cooking mini games don't take very long if you know what you're doing or you don't mess up. But you're gonna mess up a bunch, and that's okay because it just restarts you. Like it's not like you're doing these for like tens of minutes. It's more like none of these should take longer than a minute, and most of them are probably shorter.
Is there much of a story if you get tired of the cooking mechanics early on? Like, is there like an ongoing narrative to pull you along, or is it more just kind of like flavor?
There is a story. I mean, whether you think it's interesting or not, I will kind of leave it up to you. But the character interactions are off kilter in a way that I think even if you aren't really that concerned about like what is going on in this world, it's still fun talking to these weirdos.
Okay. Arctic Eggs, you found this over on Steam and Itch. Is that where this fine product resides?
Well, I didn't buy the Itch version, but yes, it is on Steam, and I imagine this does seem like a game that would be on Itch.
Looks like it's $9 on Itch if the asking price. I think Itch lets you pay what you want, but
it is a cool, neat little thing. Don't expect too much of it, but like for a few hours, like it's a few hour like diversion. It's pretty fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
Small games.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them out there.
Talked about Duck Detective last week.
Yeah.
Got Arctic Eggs this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're duck eggs.
Still got indie games banked. Like I still haven't played Crow Country yet. I'm going to play that after I get back from LA.
Brad, maybe a small game. I don't know. Platform 8.
Yes.
The blockbuster follow-up.
Was it literally last week that I was like, yo, they're making a sequel to Exit 8. It's called Platform 8. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago?
It might have been on the Planorama.
Or maybe those, I don't know when that, anyway, it came out.
Yeah.
Like since we talked about it on here, since I went like, hey, they're making it, it has come out. And I've played some of it. The Exit 8, people may remember, is one of my favorite games last year. And an anomaly game, I think is what people are calling these.
Did that make our top 10? I don't remember.
It made my top 10.
Okay. We talked about it. I think it made it pretty far. I don't think it actually made the top 10.
Okay.
It's like so much better than you would think a $4 like little. It feels almost like some kind of creepypasta adjacent, just like you know, like scary game for preteens kind of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think that's definitely where that stuff is born out of.
Like Slender Man type shit, but it's like so much more than that. Anyway, Platform 8 is pretty much the same concept, and yet also kind of isn't. As you might guess, it's set on a train this time instead of in a subway train tunnel.
Is it a sequel or a prequel? Is this before you get to the station?
Because in Exit 8, spoilers, when you finish Exit 8, you are leaving the station. You are walking up the stairs to ground level, so maybe this is a prequel.
I don't know, yeah.
Same basic concept, but you're in just a train car. It's one train car. The train kind of goes on forever. I'm trying to think like how to describe. Okay, like so the train car is way more dense with detail than you know the hallway was like a door, like 5 posters, some vents, right, and some lights.
Ceiling
right?
stuff would happen, like ceiling floor stuff would happen.
Yeah, they would use.
Yes,
they find a lot of clever ways to leverage that stuff. But this train, there's like at least like 20 big ads everywhere.
I mean, I'm already looking at a screenshot here, and just the nightmare of do you have to count the handholds, that hanging handholds every time?
Not that I've seen yet. So that's the thing that's different about this is I've only seen like one. I've gotten almost I think I've gotten halfway through it once. So like it's pretty easy to tell how close you are to quote unquote beating it. Kind of like the first one. Like there are markers.
Okay.
You can kind of tell like, hey, how many more loops do I need to do successfully to beat this? I think I've gotten halfway. I've only seen one instance so far of it literally just being a spot the difference kind of thing. Like one of these posters changed. Like almost every other thing I've encountered has been much more of it's hard to talk about without just spoiling stuff.
But just like an environmental scare.
It's more environmental stuff. In a lot of cases, and I think this is probably a positive for me. It's less about looking for some very minor obscure difference, which in a lot of cases, as we experience, is very easy to miss. It's a lot more in your face stuff, but it's not exactly apparent all the time what you need to do, or there will be some subtle hint at it. Like I can't really.
Is there like a so is the main mechanic if you don't see anything, continue through the car and you'll start at the beginning?
That is the same. Like if you see nothing amiss, just move on.
And if you see something, you want to turn around and come back the way you came?
You cannot go back.
Oh, so what happens if you see something?
As soon as you step through the door into the next iteration of the train car, you can't turn around through that door, is what I mean.
Okay.
So if you do that, if you cross that boundary and missed something, then you have failed. But there's a lot more cases, I'm kind of talking around. There's a lot more cases of things like that can just quote unquote kill you.
Oh,
I mean, not like literally violently killing you, but you know what I mean. Like it's more like
like the water in the first one, like
stuff like that.
Okay,
a lot more stuff like that. A lot more like you need to mind how you move or where you're looking.
Okay,
and stuff like that. There's also
a little more treacherous.
Kind of, yeah. But I found a lot of it to be fairly clever so far, and one thing in particular was like truly horrifying.
Okay,
to the point that I'm gonna actually want to play the rest of this like at night when it's totally dark.
All right.
I was like, it was like pit of my stomach, like, this is creepy, kind of stuff. It looks fantastic. I mean, the first game also looked really good, but I feel like they've gone even further with it here. It's just the inside of a train car, but it's highly detailed. Like, I'm not going to say it's like photorealistic, but it's like kind of close. Like they're using depth of field really well. Like it looks great.
And it's the same model of the walking
same dude, same guy,
commuter, right?
Same dude. Sitting there eternally scrolling nothing on his phone. It's like literally just, there's nothing. They didn't bother to put anything on the phone. So he's just thumbing his phone as if there are things to look at on there, but there's not. Like that in itself is kind of weird.
I would love if this went on to be a thing that is telling a story maybe in reverse of, oh, this is the train that led to the station, the exit 8, and, you know, the whole thing. And we find out this person is the story of this, this passenger.
Make a dozen of these. It's such a, I think you probably said this about the first game. It's also just like such an interesting experiment at like, of like how much can you put into one extremely small contained environment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's literally one train car, but it was a very good looking train car and they do a lot with it. The last thing, there's like nothing, everything in this is diegetic. Like, there was that sign in Exit 8, remember, that was like kind of took you out of the world because it was basically the developers talking directly to you.
Like, hey, you found like, 18 of 20 things.
Yeah, yes. And like they got a little more meta with explaining to you, like, here's how this works. Everything is diegetic in this, like down to like you need to look at the screens on the train.
Okay.
Like they don't, it's a little less handholdy. It's not a huge difference, but it feels like better integrated with the world of being on a train.
But it's still in Japanese, right? It's still
there's enough English for you to get by.
Okay. That's cool. I'm gonna check out some of that. I was gonna maybe do it this week while you were traveling with Abby, but she is also unavailable. So
yeah, I think that'd be a fun stream, like the first one was. Like when it first came out, like there were a fair number of people I follow who seemed to like it less than the first one, but but I've been pretty impressed with it so far. Who knows how I feel when it's over.
Okay. The 8 games, another entry in the 8 series.
Yes. I mean, I think if you're specifically just looking for that spot the difference gameplay from the first one, does not seem like there's nearly as much of that here.
Okay.
Also only $4.
Okay. Brad, you mentioned you played a little bit more of this. This is still one of my favorite games from this year so far. Lorelei and Laser.
Oh yeah, no, I had not started it as of last week. I have started it since then.
Okay.
Yeah, that game seems rad.
Oh, good.
I mean, it's a definite thinker. I feel like I barely have started it, but it says I'm like 15% through. I don't know if it's actually quite short.
It's meaty enough. I think, you know, it kind of depends on what kind of completion you're going for. I think,
and also how fast you puzzle that stuff
out.
Definitely,
how fast you puzzle stuff out.
So I have just checked into my room.
Okay.
To give you a vague idea of where I'm at.
It's cool vibes, right? I don't know why I said Wolf.
Totally.
I'm relieved that you like it. I think I just want people to like this game. I really like it.
It makes a really strong first impression. Like I'm playing it on the Switch, so I can take it with me to LA, and it's got a pretty long initial load when you first launch the game, but then when you hit the title screen, I'm sure it's way faster on PC, but when you hit the title screen and hit new game, it's like instant. Like it's like a 5-frame dissolve into you are just standing there in the middle of the creepy woods next to your car. No intro, no even like moment of lacking control of your character. You know, it's like literally as fast as you can hit the button on new game, you are in control of your character just standing in this weird environment. I thought it was just a really interesting, abrupt, like straightforward way to start a game.
I mean, that's that game is kind of piecing together what is going on here.
Yeah, and like the subscreen, like I don't even know what you call it, like the menu that's got like all your memories of your stuff you found.
Yeah.
And everything, like the getting in and out of that is super quick. Like it just, the presentation of the game is really impressive. Like it's mostly black and white, and there's this like, it's hard to explain. There's this like trick of there's this sort of another image behind the environment a lot of the time that kind of like
almost projected
moves around and moves around in parallax while you're walking. That's what gives it this really weird, uncanny feel. Yeah, I've mostly been opening document tubes and piecing together posters so far.
So you also, I was talking to Abby, you also figured out the whole document tubes thing pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Man, it took me forever because there's some good stuff in those document tubes which help you for the rest of the game. And I did not find that until I was pretty much 85% of the way through.
Yeah, okay, that would be kind of rough.
Yeah.
The thing you get out of those tubes is pretty helpful for navigating.
Pretty helpful. And so I think I just never put, there are a lot of math-based things, and I never put 2 and 2 together I had found a thing later on, and it just never correlated to the document tubes in a way that I was like, oh, I see, okay.
So I'm trying to think, like, so had you just not found the book that helps you solve the document tubes?
I had found them so separated that that I was like, that must come up for another puzzle.
So I think that's probably going to be the hardest part of this. Well, there are going to be 2 hard things about it, but one of them is, figuring out which answers correspond to which puzzles. Like there are a tremendous number of combination locks in this game.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it's like, you've just got a book full of math puzzles, and like each of those puzzles seems to probably correspond to a different combination lock, but which puzzle goes with which lock? I don't know. So in some cases I can see very obvious signposting. But
so if you figured out the document tubes already, you're probably already a step ahead of me and reading between some of the lines, like authors or putting stuff together. So some of that stuff will probably be more obvious to you of when you should be pulling a book out for a puzzle versus not. It took me a while to kind of be like, I should read more of the context of this book to map it to the puzzles. Yeah. I really enjoyed that game's whole vibe.
It's awesome from what I've seen so far. I mean, like the toolbox I've seen so far of what they are going to build the puzzles out of seems really interesting. It's a lot of picking up books.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this book full of math puzzles. Here is a book of common Latin phrases.
Yeah.
Here is a book on cartography that has all of the like directions in 6 different languages laid out for you. So it's going to be cool to like put answers together out of those building blocks.
And so for the most part, those are stored pretty accessibly in your inventory, though like I said, I did have about 7 or 8 pages of notes.
I can definitely see where it's like, I need to write down Italian for Northeast right now.
Yeah.
I can't, because I won't have it in front of me when it's time to solve.
Or I'm going to draw a picture of this thing so that I could just reference it and map it on the thing. That game is super fun.
Yeah. And then some of the hard thing is some of those puzzles in those books are like without context, like pretty devilish.
Yeah. You're talking about the one that just has like 20 something math or like math adjacent puzzles.
Yeah, there's just like, hey, like figure out this number sequence with part of it missing, or how do these things correspond, or
yeah. They're all I looked up a couple of those from that book just in terms of like, what are you going for? And then I found a good guide that gave hints. So that was like, hey, think about it this way. And I was like, oh,
interesting.
Okay.
But I don't think I don't think I've ever seen a game that is more going to engage my urge to not look things up. Like this game is like the final boss of the like, you have to figure this out for yourself. You have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You cannot give in on this one.
There are a couple of things in the book, and there were a couple of rooms later on where I was like, I feel like I'm doing it, but it's not working. But I will say, once you played more of the game, you'll kind of get a feel for what the puzzles are asking. Like some of the solutions they're different, but you get there in similar ways that you might have solved other puzzles. There's like thematic puzzles and be like, oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Certain dates will become very apparent.
Yes. So there's like three years that are repeated constantly, for example. The last thing I kind of maybe almost seemed too obvious until I finally realized, like, sometimes just like proximity matters, even if things don't seem connected at all. Just the fact that they are on the same screen together might be enough.
Sure.
To draw a line between them.
Yes, for sure. Yes. You should be looking around the rooms visually. I also just like that. I like the aesthetic. I like the art design that's in it, and the character's cool.
Yeah, it feels, is it the right term? It feels very continental.
Yeah.
It feels very European. I think the developer's Swedish, right? I want to say.
Yes. Some of it has a little like Killer 7 vibe-ish to it.
A little like visually, sure.
But yeah, it's very subdued, but like it's got this 60s art scene.
Yes. Some of it kind of makes me think back to watching Suspiria.
Yeah, totally. Yes.
A little bit.
Yes.
It's said in, well, can I say when it's said, is that a spoiler? Or not a spoiler, but does that give away puzzle solutions?
I would say let the people find out for themselves.
Okay. Anyway, it reminded me of that movie in a lot of ways.
Yes.
In terms of the vibes.
Yes. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Yeah, you're playing on Switch.
Yeah, I'm on Switch. It's on PC is the only other one, I think. Did you 100% it? Like,
I was missing. I had like 99.7. There's one. You probably have found it. You can find dollars in the environment. I did not find enough of the dollars to complete the 100%.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if I will go back and do that.
You gotta go find the last dollar so you can get to the inverted hotel.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you're kind of just poking around the environment, and I was like, that's not really why I'm here in this game. But I really adore that game. I think it's super cool and highly recommend it. But that's not what I've been playing.
Oh.
So that's old news for me. Put that on the completed pile. The game I want to put on the completed pile, and I think might try and get done this weekend, is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Whoa, done?
So my family they're going away this weekend, which means I have Saturday and Sunday mostly free, aside from the Xbox thing on Sunday, to try and get this thing to a state of completion.
Okay.
I am, for those wondering, I'm like midway in chapter 11-ish. I put some hours into it and was like, I'm just going to move forward here. I'm done collecting everything.
Really?
Then was up until 3 a.m. last night trying to beat this MFer for, it's a summon. Motherfucker. Holy cow.
Can I ask
high fiving motherfucker?
You can.
Which summon?
It's Odin.
Okay.
This guy.
That's an appropriate one to be hard.
This guy.
Did you got all the stuff in the zone to make him easier?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
As far as I can tell, and look, maybe minor spoilers, but I don't even care at this point. As far as I can tell, you fight this guy. If he does enough damage to you, or you absorb enough damage, because even if you block some of the damage, or your party, he will do his one-hit kill thing on everybody.
Yep, that's appropriate.
So you fight him, and even if you're like 3/4 of the way through, suddenly he'll start charging his one-hit kill thing, and you're just done. Unless you because a lot of the reses won't work, or if you res, you come back with 1 health or whatever, and it's like you might as well be done.
I get it. That is frustrating as fuck anytime a game does that.
It is bananas. How long I spent trying to fight that guy.
I guess you just have to kind of take it as like a timer built into the fight.
So you can get through. So there's a couple of ways. Like a couple of times I was able to get him into stagger when he's charging up his one-hit kill thing. A couple of times, and if you are pretty good at, so Cloud has his stances, his Punisher mode, and I forget what the other one is called, but there's the mode where if you block, you can counter, and if you do that well, I think that doesn't count as damage in the count. I don't know. Look, this is what I finally went up going to the internet, and the internet shares my thoughts that this is a hell of a thing. Like people just being like, I don't even understand. I'm using the guides. Like they don't work anymore. everybody's got their like tricks and like, oh, if you hold the controller upside down and do a dance, like he won't go into the, all this stuff of like, I used Yuffie, because if you don't hit him, basically his whole thing is like he wants an honorable fight. So if you're taking too much damage, it's not an honorable fight. He'll just end it. If you don't do enough damage, it's not an honorable fight. It's bananas. It is, so far, it is the most frustrating thing I have played in the game. Because I would get him down to like just millimeters of health and he would just pop that thing. And I'm like, I can't beat him quickly enough. I just can't, because he goes into that stance for a couple of seconds. I'm like, just finish him. Just please end this before he does his thing. And then nope. And then I would res with Cloud with 1 health and then try and just solo him. And he also has this thing where he will stop you, freeze you in place, and just wail on you. That's it. He just wails on you. And so if you're soloing him and he freezes you, I don't know how to get out of that.
Yeah, that sucks. I assume you've scanned him for weaknesses like pressure.
Oh yeah,
weaknesses.
no, this is where the text says like,
stuff where you can pressure him into stagger fast enough to prevent the thing.
The flavor text for him says the thing where it's like he wants this honorable fight, and like doing ATB, it says ATB damage, and half the time when I try to do an ATB attack, he does this reprisal attack, which just basically hits you back without being able to block. You can debuff him, so you can try that. Apparently is supposed to prevent him from going into that thing. So if you drop a bunch of debuffs on him, man, what a fight. I beat it literally at 3 a.m. in the morning. I was like, okay. So after I did that.
Oh, wait, you did beat it.
I did beat it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I started fighting him maybe around 12:30, midnight-ish. And I was like, oh, let me just get this summon. I'll go to sleep. I'm going to finish this up. It must have been like 2.5 hours of like fighting that dude.
Did you ever stop and ask yourself if you really need every summon to finish the game?
Not once I started the fight. And I was
I'm like committed at that point.
I'm like level 40. I don't know if that's too under leveled or how that, where that fits into that fight. But it's one of those things where like you get so close, you can see it. Like you're like, oh my gosh, he was like 1 limit break away. That's it. He was 1 limit break away from dying. I know I can do this. I know I've gotten close enough. I know I can do this. And then an hour goes by and you're like, you get another one of those. It's within your reach. If I had just gone left instead of right, I would have beaten him. Anyway. So after that, I was like, you know what? Let me go back into the other area and I'll go finish that other area up. And then the area I'm in now in chapter 11 actually is pretty quick to mop up if you're just trying to get. Some of those other areas just have really annoying navigation puzzles. I don't like the area previous to this. It was just a pain in the butt to navigate. This one is very straightforward. You just go hit all the markers you need to go hit and you can mop it up. And I have not had the Odin summon go full to see what happens when he like exits the screen. If he just does is that guy gonna like 1-hit kill mobs?
Probably not.
You don't think so?
Maybe lesser ones.
What if he does bosses?
Maybe. I'd highly doubt.
So anyway, that's where I'm at. I think.
Come on, man. You've played some JRPGs. You know about the boss exemption rule to just about any powerful ability.
I've said this before, and this is a memory I'm sure is wrong in my head, but I think it's Final Fantasy Legends on the Game Boy where you can use the chainsaw to 1-hit kill a boss at the end, and it does like the Game Boy split, like it just splits them in half. I think that's true, but it could be a fuzzy memory. Anyway, I pretty much have both of those areas at 100% completion rate, which means they're the last areas. I don't think I've skipped too much. I think I'm just ready to plow through on narrative.
I wish you well. I'm going to say every time this comes up on our Discord, the constant refrain is, hey, every time you think you're done with this game,
I know
you're not done.
I know.
They pull you back in.
I know. I'm thinking like, look, at home, I could have probably realistically a good 16 hours this weekend to put into this game. And that
might be enough.
And that's where I'm like, I don't know. Is that enough? That might be enough.
How many hours are you at?
I didn't check when I put it down. But it's probably in the 80s now. I didn't play a super duper amount. I just, when I was in the 70s, so maybe it's in the 80s, maybe it's in the high 70s at this point. But what really, I go back and forth on like, do I just want this to be done and out of my life, or am I actually enjoying this? And when I was mopping stuff up, I was like, like I said, getting the checks on the checkbox make my brain feel good. Like I do enjoy that part of being like,
brain make feel good now.
Yeah, right. Yes. And so we'll see. We'll talk on next Wednesday where I'm at. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. That Odin fight, man.
Rooting for you.
Yeah. I also fought a Mind Flayer fight that was a pain in the butt, but that was kind of a pain in the butt. This was.
Is there more than one of those?
Mind Flayers?
Yeah.
I fought him in the Chadley simulator. So
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
I fought simulator. What a sentence.
I fought one of those.
Yeah, and there was a thing in the Chadley simulator where you fight the Mind Flayer thing again, and there's something like, I forget what it was. You can't beat he's with two other ads, and you can't beat the other ads before you beat the Mind Flayer, so you have to like keep them alive.
Well, that's fun.
And they have like a self-destruct thing on them. So you got to keep them like, there is some nasty stuff in this game. And that was a kind of a wicked fight. But this one, Odin! Curious if people listening also had a lot of trouble. From what I could tell on like the Reddits and the internets, it wasn't just me. I always feel justified when I go to a thing and then the people are like, no, this thing's messed up. There were people swearing a lot in that thing.
You're almost free. You're almost free.
Maybe.
So soon.
Every time I'm like, get to the point where I'm like, oh, this must be the thing everybody complained about. There was some other relic thing that was pretty hard. And I was like, oh, this must be the thing. Because people when you go read it and they're like, this is the most messed up thing in the game. I'm like, oh, good. Okay. At least I'm past that. And then I hit the next thing and then people are like, this is absolutely the most messed up thing in this game. I'm like, wait, no, I thought you said it was the other thing. So we'll see. We'll see. I will say for my part, the stuff that I'm doing along the narrative path feels of little consequence in terms of challenge. It's these optional things that feel like they are where, like any Final Fantasy game, feel like where the rubber hits the road. I'm like, oh, you thought you're cool? You thought you leveled up past where we want you to be? No.
You're not cool.
Well, that's the thing. When you do everything, it often trivializes the end of the narrative.
Yeah.
Part of the game.
That's fine for me. I like that. That's where I want to be in a game. But these optional things still feel pretty rough.
Yeah, I'm torn on that. I always want the last story fight to feel like a real challenge.
I don't. I want the chainsaw.
Ever since I ruined Final Fantasy X for myself by getting almost all of the ultimate weapons.
Yeah.
And then beat the last boss, and I think it was 2 commands.
Oh,
I think it was literally just like, I can't remember it, but I remember the last boss of that game just being like paper. And I was like, man, I really like this game, and that felt very anticlimactic.
The reason I like all the completion stuff is I want to break and trivialize as much of the game as possible by having done all of the stuff. Actually, it's one of the things I really dislike about Metroidvanias is when you finally hit the threshold point where you have to use all of the items you have to get past that point, because then the game knows you have all those items, and I'm like, oh man, now they're going to design puzzles for you having all these items because you needed them to get past here. Now it's going to get hard again.
Vinny, we know this about you. You like to break video games. You don't like to play them on their rigid terms.
Yes, I want to be like, I bet they didn't think I'd use this item this way. But then when you're past that point, they're like, no, they know I have this triple jump item already because, man, or the warp item or whatever it is.
Yeah, I guess it's situational. I mean, that was also but that was my favorite thing about Final Fantasy VIII was how much you could exploit the junction system to just become ridiculous.
See? You don't even have to, clone the Masamune?
Masamune.
Masamune 99 times and throw it at the... there was like the item dupe bug. Do you remember that? And then you could just have... who's the guy who can throw the weapons?
Which game?
Edge?
6? It's Edge and 4, Shadow and 6. I'm not sure.
I think
they're both throwing ninjas.
Are they both?
I think Shadow could throw. Edge definitely can throw, I think. Didn't Shadow have a throw?
I think it was Edge, and then you dupe the sword, and then you just throw it, have him throw it.
Or you just got to junction doom 100 times to your sword.
There you go. Is that a thing you could do?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Watch.
See people all the time talking about their Final Fantasy 8 remake and whether they should throw out the junction system or not.
Really?
That would be insanity.
Wait. That's like that hook of that game. That's the system.
It was very polarizing.
Oh wow. All right. All right. That's gonna do it for the games, which is a little weird because that means we're at the end of the podcast here with our our Uno Reverse podcast today. We do have Watchcast going on. We are in the back half now. We've hit the threshold. We're in the back half of Twin Peaks Season 3. Alex, I'm enjoying myself. I think this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a good run, and we hit a very momentous episode that is now up on the Patreon if you want to hit that up. And we crossed the halfway point with next week's episode, so parts 9 and 10. Yeah,
they were cool. The recent ones I thought were really it feels like meaty story stuff going on.
Stuff is happening.
Yeah. So that's Twin Peaks Season 3, The Return, happening on the Watchcast. You can see that over on the Patreon. Got the Ramblecast, Planorama. Never been a better podcast, like I had mentioned before. A little tough to book this month with everybody kind of doing like Summer Games Fest stuff and taking some vacation. So that one might be a little bit later in June. Just a heads up, that one might drop later. I opened up some of the recording weeks to try and get more people into it. So just a heads up if you're looking for that.
Yes. Also, real quick, I have to jump in. I completely forgot to do this at the top of the show. Speaking of some of the people on that podcast.
Oh, yes.
One other thing to promote. I am going to be on the Giant Bomb couch.
That's right, over at Summer Games Fest.
Sunday night. Yes. Sunday night. The 9th? That's the 9th, right? Yeah. Sunday night. It'll be a live event. They're
tickets.
Straight up getting a venue.
Yeah. Theater.
And doing a thing on a stage.
One could go buy a ticket and go see Brad Shoemaker along with a bunch of other people.
Yes. A bunch of people
on the stage.
I can't remember who all they've announced, but the info is all out there on there. Check their Twitter account. They've been talking about who's going to be there. They passed me a link if you want to get tickets. It's bit.ly, like bit.ly, bit.ly/GB at night, GBATNITE.
I believe tickets still on sale.
Yeah. So if you're in the Los Angeles area and want to come to that, there you go.
That's Grub hosting, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, that sounded cool.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
fun to hang out with all of them.
Not as cool as sitting in my basement alone talking about video games.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man.
Say hi to everyone for me when you see them. Those are good people.
Yeah.
That's Giant Bomb's. Do they have a name for their show?
Giant Bomb at Night.
Giant Bomb at Night. So it's the at night show happening over there.
It'll never work.
And again, that's Sunday. That's the same night, I believe, as the Xbox thing, right?
That's in the morning.
This is at night, clearly.
Yeah. Clearly. Xbox in the morning. This in the evening.
Xbox in the morning. This in the evening.
Yes,
that's how I live my life.
That's right. And this will be live streamed as well, I should mention.
When's the archive going up? You're shaking your head. All right, folks, we're going to wrap this show up. Like I said, you can check out those things. That's over at the Giant Bomb side of things. Our stuff, you can go check out any of those things like the Watchcast, Ramblecast, Never Been a Better Podcast, Planorama, all at patreon.com/Nextlander, where you can find a tier that is right for you. There is one tier there, though, that gets their names read on this here show. Alex Navarro, would you do us the honors of reading our mysterious benefactors?
I will, and I will do so honorably. Our mysterious benefactors for this week are Sean Miller, RRE, Infelicitous Rips, Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, Sean Hubbard, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deirdre and the Laser Eyes, Gary Pejsky, Robert Fisher, Bunny Fiend, Jad Rita, Statics, Fantasticasm89, Razgriz 2, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Andrew Tiepkin, Alex Wu, It's Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese.
Thanks to our mysterious benefactors, and thanks again to everybody who has supported us, again, over at patreon.com/Nextlander. We also have an email address, podcast@nextlander.com, podcast@nextlander.com. We'll get to those next week once we're back from the Game Festin and all of that stuff. If you've got any, we were talking about it before the show, but we're starting to get a collection of I work in the travel industry emails. If you want to share your experiences from either airport, trucking, send them in.
Got emails from both of those industries.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Frankly, you want to spill the beans on any line of work.
We're here for it.
I'm always up for some good bean spilling. Thank you very much, Brad Shoemaker. Thank you very much, Alex Navarro. Don't forget to tune in to all the streams, the live stuff going on around the Summer Game Fest, and again over at Giant Bomb at Night stuff. You can check it out there. We'll be back next week.